Good morning. Find your seat. Find your breath. Find your center. Take a moment as you breathe and settle in and find your sitting bones in your center. You also take a moment to notice what you bring to the practice. It could be physical, emotional, spiritual, just acknowledging that as the truth of you and what you bring in. Our practice today is about adapting the practice to no-handedness. Just a reminder that we can do the practice even if our hands and wrists are sore or injured or aching, or just don't want to do weight bearing, that we can do a complete practice without that. So join me by extending your arms straight out to the side and then releasing your hands, just letting them drape down. So one of our focuses this week is to notice that when we put excessive tension into our hands, and sometimes that feels good. In fact, you can try that if you want, like you're trying to reach beyond yourself. You'll notice that that also draws your attention out to the distal ends of your arms. And sometimes that's really nice. Sometimes it feels really good to act as if you are embracing the world. But I also notice that when I do that, sometimes I forget about the body that's close to myself, the internal body, the center, the core. So if I drape out my hands, it usually sends a little more sensation into my medial body, the one that's closest to the core. So that's going to be one of our themes today. Just releasing the hands from the practice and seeing if you can feel other parts a little more keenly. So from here, we're just going to sweep our arms up overhead. Once again, drape down the hands, let them relax, close your eyes, narrow the waistline, pick up the belly, drop in the sternum, lengthen the crown away from the tail. And then as you exhale, bring your hands down into prayer and take a moment to feel again into your practice and to set an intention that makes sense for you today. And as you're ready, offer that with a bow. Inhale, coming on up to sitting. We'll take a moment to seal that with a breath and an om together. Inhaling. Gently blinking open your eyes and just bringing your fingertips to the tip of your shoulders here. And I want you to notice that tapping, because we're going to use that later. So just do a little tapping, just get a little kinesthetic sensation, and you can tap kind of around the joint. So you'll feel that, kind of knobby edge, and you just tap around it. So what I want for you in your back bends when we do them is for the front edge of the shoulders to lift up. So now tap your fingers into the front edge of the shoulders and just lift them up. And then release it and just notice that difference. It's big, right? So go ahead and lift them up and just notice how that shapes the shoulder blades on the back, and notice how that sets up the neck. And then once again, release and just notice if you kind of let everything go, what happens with your natural posture. My chin juts forward, my sit back into my lower back, and my ribs drop a little bit. So I'm going to push again and lift up. Just take a couple more moments. You can close your eyes if you'd like and just feel into what this feels like. Another breath there. Beautiful. And then from there, take goalpost arms. And you're going to feel into your left shoulder head, the top of that shoulder, and you're going to pull the top back. and that's going to start to move you into a twist. So I want your twist to be initiated by that shoulder moving back. So you'll just take your time here. You'll breathe, and every time you exhale, you'll drop that shoulder back, or you'll pull it back in space. And I want you to try to get the other hand out of the equation so you can let that one drop. But with the one that you're active, just keep pulling. You could drop that hand too if you want, and just bring that shoulder head back. And you'll notice that you get a nice twist through the ribs. See if you can keep your left side of your body anchored. Last breath. And as you inhale, gently come out of the pose. Release your hands to your lap. Shrug the shoulders a couple times. Cleansing breath. Inhaling and exhaling. So let's try that second side. So we're going to come to goal pose or cactus arms, and you're going to feel into the right shoulder head, and just going to pull that back. And just notice what that twist is there. You can drop your hands out of the pose. And then as you exhale, you're going to pull that shoulder head back. See if you can keep the opposite shoulder from wanting to come forward. So it's going to want to help you. And it's going to, I think, and it's going to want to draw to the front of the socket. But I don't really want that, because that's a weak position, and we don't really want to rehearse it. We have it if we need it, but we don't want to rehearse it. One more breath. On the exhale, pulling that right shoulder head back. And then inhale, release. Relax the hands. And now we're going to go inhale, exhale. And you'll start to speed it up. Inhale, shrug, exhale, release. Inhale, exhale. We're going to fatigue out those inner shoulders a little bit that get so tight. We're going to try to be doing some therapeutics for the arms and hands today. By relaxing them and giving them a chance to step out of the practice. Release. And just take a moment here and breathe that in. All right, you're going to remove the block from underneath you. You're going to come onto your backs with your feet in Baddha Konasana. So soles of the feet together. Go ahead and lay all the way back down with your hands out in T-pose. And you're going to walk your feet maybe a teeny bit closer to your body than you're used to. Excuse me. You're going to press the feet into one another and feel the arching that happens in the spine. Maybe feeling even into the energy of the legs growing, or the activation of the legs growing, until you feel the legs working their way up, or the leg energy working their way up into the booty, maybe even up into the waistline, feeling that whole growing of activation. Couple more breaths. You're going to begin to work in the core, so drawing your belly in and up without losing any of that lumbar curve. And then you're going to inhale and exhale completely, and then draw the belly in and up underneath the ribs. Hold it. And release it. So we're going to do that about 3 more times. So inhale completely. Exhale completely. Don't breathe in again. Just suck that belly up underneath the ribs. And release. And as you suck that belly up, you want to keep that lumbar curve. Here we go. 2 more. Inhale deeply. Exhale completely. No breath. Just suck up that core. And release. 1 more. Inhale deeply. Exhale completely. Now breathing, suck it up. And exhale, release. You've just given yourself a little belly massage. Bring your hands to the outer thighs and come on in. And hopefully that will help to kind of stretch and release some of the congestion in the belly. We're going to do it again with a little bit different action this time. So take your Setu Bandha preparation so that your knees are bent, feet are on the floor, and if you reach down, you can tickle your heels. You're going to press down on the inhale and swing your arms up overhead as the hips lift. Then you exhale completely. Then you suck in your abdomen underneath the ribs. Keep that without breathing. Drop just your hips to the floor and feel that gentle stretch into the abdominals. When the hips touch, the hands come back down to your sides and you begin again, inhaling, sweeping, lifting. Exhaling completely. Hold the breath out. Suck it up. Drop the hips down slowly without breathing. And then release the hands down by your hips. Inhale. We got 3 more. Exhale. Breath stays out. Suck it up. Drop the hips. And release the hands. 2 more. Inhaling. Exhale. Sucking it in. Dropping them down. Hands all the way. Flowing over. Last one. Inhaling. Exhaling. Holding the breath. Bringing it in and up. Dropping the hips down without breathing. Releasing hands. Beautiful. Let's bring one knee into the chest and then the other. And we'll take the knees in opposing circles for a little cat-cow action on the low spine, mobilizing that lumbar spine. A couple more breaths. And then repeat in the other direction. And if you want to just create a little more muscle energy here, you just gently resist the movement with your legs. So it's like the hands are trying to peel the skin off an orange or something, and it's slightly resistive. All right, and release that. Bring your left knee into your chest. Hug it deeply. Extend your right leg out in space. Hover it off the floor. Inhale. As you exhale, curl up and check out your legs, making sure that that right leg especially is coming straight out from the hip and second toes are to the floor. Now press the whole back body except for the shoulders down onto the floor and lift the shoulders up. So you're going to curl and try to touch forehead to the knee, press the back down, and then release it down. Head down, bring the right knee in, take a cleansing breath. As you exhale, switch sides. So right knee into the chest. Exhale the left leg out. Inhale. As you exhale, curl up. Check. Make sure that left leg comes straight out from the hip and second toe straight up. And then you press the back down and you try to get the shoulders off the floor. Inhaling. Exhaling, pressing down, shoulders up. Inhaling, pressing down, shoulders up. Good. Exhale, release. Bring your other knee into the chest. Just take a couple more rounds of that cat-cow movement. Big, deep breath. Okay, beautiful. Take your legs straight up into the sky. Bring your hands behind your head this time. Now, I want you to feel the difference between strong hands on the head and a curling like you're trying to get the chin into the chest. That's actually not what I want. So you're going to lift your head up with your hands, but then the head's going to fall back down a little bit. And as you do that, just notice if that helped the low back to engage a little bit better on the floor. So you do the same thing. It's like we're pressing the back in and trying to get the shoulders up without lifting the head. So the head is trying to rest back. One more breath. And you should feel those abs. Good. Release down. We've got 2 more of those. So we rest the head back, but we lift the shoulders off the mat as we press the back into the floor. You're trying to get those shoulders off, but not by lifting with your hands, by lifting with the front body. Woo! Exhale, release. Take a cleansing breath. Okay, last one. Pressing low back to the floor, lifting the shoulders off. Head rests back. We breathe. Each exhale, we're pressing the back down and trying to get the backs of the shoulders lifted. and release. Hug the knees into the chest. Take a cleansing breath. Do a couple circles. We're going to take our feet to the floor so they're wide on the sticky mat. Even yourself out so you're in the very center of your mat. Hands out in T and windshield wiper pose. We're starting off with some really good core today, because when we're doing we're not using our hands, it's really important that we have strong core. And I notice a lot of times when I use my hands in my practice, it gives me an excuse not to use my core. So here's a great way to just kind of feel it. Okay, so here we go again, back to center. Inhale deeply. As we exhale, one knee at a time into the chest, take the legs up overhead. You're going to interlace the hands behind the head. This time you're going to drop your right leg almost to the floor. The head rests back into the hands, but you press the back down and try to get the shoulders off the floor. Okay, now keep that and switch legs. So each time you switch legs, you try to press the back into the floor and lift up the shoulders. We've got a couple more. And release. Bring the feet onto the floor. Take windshield wiper. Little stretch for the belly. Okay, here we go. Here's another one. Bring the knees in. Bring the legs up. This time we're going to do a little crossover. So we're going to bring the hands behind our heads. We're going to drop the right foot or leg to the floor, almost, not quite. Inhale. As you exhale, drop the back down and try to lift the shoulders, and then try to tap the left knee with your right elbow. And then release it down. Inhale. Exhale, switch legs. Inhale. As you exhale, press the back down, lift off your shoulders, and try to touch left elbow to right knee. Inhale down, bring the legs up. Exhale, drop the feet down. Windshield wiper pose. Really enjoy your breath because you're breathing into your belly. All right, one at a time, bringing those legs up. This one's going to be familiar. Your hands are by your sides. As you inhale, your toes tap on the floor. As you exhale, you shoot them up into the sky and try to get the tailbone off the floor. Strong exhale. Inhale, tap. Exhale. Inhale, tap. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. In. Hex. In. Hex. In. Hex. In. Hex. In. Last one. Beautiful. Walk your feet to the edge of the sticky mat. Windshield wiper. All right, you should feel pretty engaged in your core right now. Let's just take our hands and gently make fists and open them as we're doing our windshield wiper. And then let's add a couple wrist circles. Even though we're not going to use our hands, we want to keep them mobile. All right, you're going to roll to your right side. And coming up, you're going to take tabletop with forearms. Coming to your forearms. Take tabletop pose, so the knees are right underneath your hips and your elbows are right underneath your shoulders. You're looking down at your hands. You're about looking between your thumbs there. You're making sure that the shoulders are right over the elbows, and you're pressing your forearms into the floor and forward and wide. So it's like you're trying to stretch that mat and make it wider there. One more breath, looking at the space between your thumbs. Inflate the upper back. Just inflate it. Try to stretch wide everything between your shoulders. Last breath. And then release. And walk yourself all the way back to Vajrasana. Take your hands behind the back so that you reach your opposite elbow. And I want you to feel into your ribs there and notice Does one rib touch your forearms more than the other? If it does, try to bring that rib forward and the other rib back. So it's like a really minor twist, but it allows you to feel the activation of ribs to initiate the twist. Good. Last breath. You should feel yourself slightly twisting to one side or the other. And then gently release and come back to your forearms. And you're going to press down, forward, and wide. This time, you're going to tuck your toes under, inflate the back, look at the space between your thumbs, and lift your knees off the floor. Here we go. We're going to make this bigger. So if you want to keep the knees on the floor, you can. If you want to try this, you can. Looking at that space between thumbs, pressing down, squeezing wide, opening up that space. One more breath. And release. Drop the knees to the floor. Sit on back Vajrasana. See if you can take the opposite crossing of your arms behind the back. And just notice. It might be different on this side. It might be same. Notice if one rib touches your forearms more than the other. If it does, pull it forward and drop the other rib back like you're trying to reverse that. Breathe. See if you can get your mind to go internally, deeply internally. Good. Release that. Here we go on to forearms again. This time we take it into plank, or you go back to one of the poses prior if you want to keep working on that. Eye gaze is between the thumbs. You're pressing down and forward with the forearms and wide to inflate the upper back. You're pulling the belly in and up, and you're using the strong legs to press the crown long. Good. Last breath. Exhale. Release hips to the floor. Untuck the toes. Feel the pubic bones settling in, and see if you can let it get heavy as you start to draw muscle energy up the legs into the booty. And we just soften in through the ribs without getting any back pinching. We keep the legs strong. And we just breathe through Sphinx pose. Seeing if you can keep the top of the shoulders. So here where we begin, remember how we had our hands tapping the very tips of the shoulders? Can you slightly lift them up here? And can you move them away from each other without losing that strength through the legs? Can you keep the back of the neck long, pulling up through the whole medial body? One more breath. All right, back to Sphinx plank, tucking the toes under, pulling the belly back first, so you make sure you protect the back, and then with strong legs, you press up to forearm plank. Looking between the thumbs, drawing the belly in and up, forearms pressed down and wide, and you try to inflate that upper back. And then you drop it down. And this time we're going to come all the way down onto our bellies so that our forehead rests on our hands. And we're just going to rock our hips left and right. And breathe. Let everything wiggle up that spine. As you rock your hips left and right, let your spine look like a snake. Or if you ever were a little kid and you took a jump rope on the floor and you snaked it, that's kind of what I want the spine to do. Just loosening up all those connections. All right, from here, you're going to take your arms down by your chest, like you're going to do a push-up. Because it's non-weight bearing today, we're not going to do a push-up, but we're going to remember the tips of our shoulders lifting up away from the floor, and that will help us lift our hands too. So we're going to keep the elbows drawing down by our sides and lift the hands off the floor, and imagine your fingers were tapping the front of your shoulders and you were just lifting up, and at some point the legs are going to lift up too, and you're going to take Shalabhasana with cobra arms. One more breath. And release it. Rest your forehead on your hands and swing, snake your hips left and right, and get that spine to make that snake-like energy up the length of it. All right, second time's a charm. This time we're going to have hands out in T. So we take our hands out in T. We still remember the tapping of the shoulders We lift up the front edge of the shoulders and come up into cobra, and then to shalabhasana, and then the legs lift as well. And we keep tapping the front of the shoulders and try to lift them up just a little bit higher, just a little bit higher, and just a little bit higher. Full breaths, and then release down and take a cleansing breath and wiggle your hips left and right. Take a cleansing breath. And we got one more shalabhasana. So make sure your legs are coming directly out from your hips. Take your hands down by your sides. Imagine that tapping energy on the front of your shoulders and lift up. And keep thinking of that. Keep rehearsing that as the legs lift up. It's not the chin that lifts up. You keep the neck long, but you keep tapping and lifting the shoulders higher, higher, higher. One more breath. And release. Good. Take your arms out in T, and you're just going to rock. Your right arm is going to stay in T, and you're going to rock onto your right side. So you feel that stretch in the front of the shoulder, and you're going to imagine that tapping energy is still lifting up. Keep breathing. All right, we're going to switch sides. So you're going to rock out onto your left arm. It's out in a T, and you're going to rock onto your left side. Remember that tapping of the front of the shoulder and feel that stretching. Couple more breaths. All right, let's go to first side again, stretching. Remember that tapping energy to bring that shoulder up and over. And if this feels good and you want more, you can also take your top leg and reach it behind you and stand on it so that you use that to also open the shoulder. One more breath. Yogi's choice. Okay, release. Let's go second side. So left arm goes out, right arm kickstands. Remember that tapping energy to lift the front of the shoulder up. If it feels good to you and you want more, you can bend the top leg and step on it. Breathing into the front of the shoulder, breathing that healing energy. As we do non-weight bearing, it's really a great time to add stretches so that we can just work on rehabbing those tight shoulders. And gently release. You're going to come up to Sphinx pose. You're going to press up to tabletop. You're going to take your big toes touching, your knees wide apart, and sit on back in child's pose. But you're going to reach forward as far as you can and imagine, like, curl your fingers around an imaginary pull-up bar. So you want to reach far enough so that you get that pull-up bar energy, and then you sit the hips back, and if you're ready, you drop the forehead to the floor, but you really feel that long pull. Sometimes I'll just kind of walk my fingers a little bit farther forward, sit on back again, lift my belly in and up, and see if I can just get a little more stretch through the shoulders. Big, deep, full breath through the whole torso. One more breath here. And we're going to walk our hands to the right. Same pose, just to the right. And you're going to swing your belly and so that it's resting on the right thigh. And that might help you to walk a little farther. So you're kind of shearing the spine over to the right. Like you're pulling it away from the structures of the thigh and getting a nice stretch there. One more breath. And then release it back to center and walk it to the left. And then bring your belly over your thigh. That might have given you more freedom to walk a little bit more left. And then pull that belly over to the left, even as the right hip stays steady. It's like you're stretching the innards of your body. And release that. Bring your hands back into Sphinx. We're going to work up towards dolphin, which is like a variation that'll mimic downward facing dog. So you're going to tuck your toes under, and you're just going to press those forearms down and wide as you come up towards straight legs. Please have your feet wide here and your knees soft. So you're going to keep that extension in the spine, and then let the head hang, but bring the shoulders right over the elbows, and see if you can use the legs to drive the sitting bones into the sky. And see if you can draw the belly in and underneath the ribs almost for core. One more breath. Let that head hang. And drop your knees to the floor and sit on back, Vajrasana. Inhale, sweep your arms up overhead. Interlace your fingers, take palms to the sky. One more breath, side body long. Release. We've got one more dolphin pose. So coming forward onto your forearms, you're pressing down and wide. Toes are tucking under. You press up to lift your booty into the sky. Take your feet wide. Be generous with yourself. Try to let your head hang, but bring your shoulders right over your elbows. And use your legs to drive the sitting bones to the sky. This is such a good stretch for the shoulders. It not only stretches them, it makes them really strong. Release the head down and see if you can lift your sitting bones a little higher. Last breath, you can do it. And exhale, release knees to the floor. Sit on back. Fly your arms up overhead. Goofy finger interlace. Take palms to the sky. We're going to stay here for a moment. Release the hands. We're going to stay in this Vajrasana. If you want, if it's not too much for your feet, tuck your toes under. If it's too much for your feet, stay there or in another, standing variation. We're going to inhale the arms out to the side, and we're going to cross the right arm over the left to take eagle arms. The elbows are as high as the shoulders. The hands are vertical above the elbows. You breathe here and try to breathe into the space of the upper back. And as you exhale, you try to bring the elbows into your belly button. It's like an extreme cat tilt. Use your abdominals to open up the tight back muscles. Inhale, come up. Keep bringing the arms up overhead. Sweep them around. Second side, if you need to change your foot position, please do. Inhale, left arm over right, elbows as high as the shoulders, hands or wrists vertically stacked over elbows. Inhale here into the back of the scapula, between the shoulder blades. As you exhale, extreme cat, elbows into belly button. Use the abdominals and stretch out the spaces of the back body. Good. And then inhale, release them up overhead, and exhale, release. Okay, from here, we're going to inhale, sweep our arms up overhead, look up, so it's almost like Utthita Hastasana, and then imagine someone's got your wrists, and they're lifting up really high. When you get high, use your abdominals. With an exhale, swing your right leg forward. Good. And take another breath or two there, just to feel that nice lunge. We're going to do the same thing. It's same. Someone's holding my wrist, not my hands. So release your hands out of the pose. Use your abdominals and try to step it on back. Second side. Someone's lifting the wrists and we swing it through. Someone's lifting the wrists and we swing it back. If you need to pad your knees, please do. Here we go. Last one. We're swinging it through. We're going to stay there for a moment. Inhaling. As we exhale, the hands sweep down and back, and that lifts up the back leg. Okay. Take another breath there. That'll make the leg feel super strong. And then sweep the arms up and let that back knee come down. Someone's lifting your wrists. Swing it on back. Take a pause here to inhale. As you exhale, lift and swing. As you exhale, the hands push down and forward and lift that back leg off the floor. Another breath here to feel that strength of the front leg. And then drop that back knee to the floor. See if you can let someone lift the wrists up. Belly strong. Sneak it on back. We've got one more each side. Lifting and swinging. Good. Here we go. Pressing all the way to lift that back leg up into a lunge. Pause there for a moment. Lengthening out through the spine. And then exhale. Drop it down. Someone's lifting your wrist. Let the hands float down and swing it on back. Here's the last one. You can do it. Inhale. Exhale to swing it through. Inhale. Exhale to push that back leg up. From here, we're going to step forward to Uttanasana. So inhale. You can rock it a little bit. And exhale. Step it forward. Bow forward. And you can let the back of the hands drape onto the floor here. Take a breath and just settle in, feeling your feet strongly on the floor, and think of them as gecko feet. So they're going to bring and suction cup the energy of earth all the way up into the waistline. A couple more breaths here. From here, we inhale halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, bend the knees. We're going to roll this time. We're not going to do Utkatasana. We're going to roll. So we're going to drop the tailbone and pick up the belly as if we're trying to pull it underneath the ribs. And then that's going to help us roll up to standing, feeling all the tension unraveling in the back. When you get up tall, then sweep your arms up overhead, look up. And as you exhale, you dive forward to Uttanasana, standing forward fold, letting the backs of the hands drape on the floor and the knees soften. Feel that gecko lizard-like energy up the legs. 2 more breaths. From here, we bend the knees, dropping the tail, picking up the belly like we've done before. Pick it up as you roll up. Arms fly overhead. Inhale, look up. Exhale, dive forward. Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, bend your knees. Take your right leg back to a straight leg lunge. You're just going to bring your elbows or your forearms onto that front knee for a moment. And you're going to see if you can pop up your heel on the front leg and then put it down. See if you can pop it up and put it down. One more time. See if you can pop it up and put it down. Anchor your back heel. So we prep for Utthita Parshvakonasana. Left arm stays on the left leg. Right arm sweeps open to the sky. Now drop your hands out of the pose. And I want you to imagine the elbows are trying to buoy themselves away from each other. So it's almost like you have a big physio ball between your elbows. And they just open up. Beautiful. Keep going just like that. Don't worry about your hands. Just find those places that help the inner body open. Beautiful. And then from there, press up into Warrior 2. Take a moment in your Warrior 2 to check that front knee to make sure it's over the second toe. If you need to hold it, you can do that and guide it. You can do that. While you do that, look back at your back foot. Should be square to the back of the mat. And the right hip shouldn't be popping forward. In fact, if you take your right hand and pull it back, you'll find that space of the opening of the hips. Good. Reach back into Warrior, and then we inhale here. Exhale to Goddess Warrior. Inhale back to Warrior. Exhale to Utthita. Inhale back to Warrior. Exhale to Goddess. Inhale to Warrior. Exhale Utthita. Good. Inhale, straighten that front leg. Take a pause there as you turn both feet straight forward. Place the backs of the wrists on your hips. Inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, bow forward. Prasarita Padottanasana. Let your arms hang. Your forearms can do the same things that they've been doing before. They press down and forward and wide on the sticky mat. The knees stay soft. All four corners of the feet engaged in the earth. Couple more breaths. And you drive those sitting bones up to the sky at the same time that you pull your belly in and up. One more breath there. Beautiful. You're going to bend your knees, bring the hands, the backs of the hands to the hips. Draw in the belly, look forward, press down, and come on up. Beautiful. Turn your right leg out. Take a moment to adjust it, to make it in the line that you want. Bending that front knee to a square, using your hand if you need to, just to remind it. Then the other hip, we place our hand and we pull it back slightly until we feel that whole foot engage on the floor. And now you're just creating space between those two hips. It becomes a hip opener. Good. Inhale your arms out to the side. Exhale, goddess. Inhale, warrior two. Virabhadrasana 2. Exhale, Utthita Parshvanottanasana. Inhale to Virabhadrasana 2. Exhale to goddess warrior. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale back to warrior. Straighten that front knee. Turn both feet straight forward. Place the backs of your wrists on the backs of the hips. Press down and lift up. Exhale. Dive forward. Prasarita Padottanasana. Soft knees, strong feet. Forearms can be on the floor, pressing down, forward, and wide to create that width through the spine. Head can hang here. Knees can soften here. And we try to lift the sitting bones at the same time we pull the belly in and up. Okay, here come our side to sides. So we're going to bend through the right knee and come on over to the side. You can kind of hug that leg and feel its infrastructure, like just feel how steady and strong it is, and then bring the sitting bone back. And then move over to the other side. And you're just going to kind of hold it, feel its strength and infrastructure, and then bring its sitting bone out to the side. And then go back and forth. Inhaling and exhaling, trying to make sure that as you push away from that leg, that the sitting bone drives apart, back and apart. So you get super strong, super clear on the way those legs and sitting bones work. That if they draw under too much, they actually hurt your back over time. So you want to drive that sitting bone back and wide. Keep going. Making those legs super strong. And just put a little energy, attention into your belly. Make sure it's lifting in and up. We've got one more. Come back to center. Bend the knees. Bring your elbows onto the knees. Come up halfway. And then press down. Woo, baby. And walk your feet in. Just take your time. Mashed potato. Whoa. And stand. Let your hands hang. Breathe deeply and just feel, wow, the difference in how you're standing after all that beautiful work. Take another breath here. We're going to move into tree pose. So you're standing on your left leg. You're going to tippy toe your right knee out to the side. And you're going to bend the standing knee for a moment. And I want you to remember that physio ball that we put between our elbows. This time we're putting it between our knees. So there's this sense of this widening here. And you'll see how that translates up into the pelvis a little bit. So that we want this all to stay wide as we move into tree. So here we go. You either step on your shin or you bring it up to the inner thigh. Yogi's choice. You're going to still feel that width of the physio ball between your knees. It's just like this nice whoo. And then the arms can come out to the side. And that just helps us to make sure we're not pinching our back to bring that foot up. because it's easy to narrow that in. So you want to keep that sense of wideness. And the belly even has to circle around, inflate around the ball. And then the arms, if you'd like, come up overhead. We find the length through the crown. And then very gently release that whole thing down. Take that foot to the floor. Roll the shoulders, cleansing breath. Let's try second side. So standing on the right leg, kickstand the left. Take a moment to feel, what would that feel like if you not only bent the standing knee, but you felt this width coming in through the thighs, in through the belly. And then as you're ready, you can step on your shin or your thigh. And keeping that sense of that circular physio ball that you're wrapping around there. And then the arms can come up overhead. Keep your gaze super focused. You can drop out your wrists actually if you want here, so that you feel more of the attention of the energy in the midline of the body, closer to your middle. And then exhale, release that slowly. And you can shake it out or roll it out. Just have a little fun with that, because we're going to do that again with a little variation option if we want. So we're standing on the left knee that's soft, it's bent, and the right leg that's out, and there's that sense of a physio ball in between the knees, so there's width. And then you bring up that foot to where you want it, either the shin or the thigh, without losing that sense of wrapping wide around something. Okay, from inhale, from here, we're going to try to bend or tap our right elbow towards our right knee. Woo. And you can drop your hands out of the pose if you want. It's hard. And then come back up. Whoa. And then exhale. Please don't look at me, because you'll make you fall. You're gonna have to look at a spot in your room that's nice, drishti gaze for you. Let's try second side. So standing right, bending that knee, taking a breath, feeling that width in the pelvis. We want to be wider when we balance. I know it's kind of weird. We think we get narrow and squeezy, but actually get wide here. And then when the arms are out, you're going to try to feel that standing leg strongly and start to bend the left elbow and see if you can tap your left knee. Take your time. Keep your gaze steady. See if you can just get your attention into your core here. And then inhale, come up. Exhale, release. Shake it out. I think that's all worth trying one more time. Super good for us to feel our balance. So here we go. First side, stepping left, opening right, softening knees, get that super wide feeling, and abdominal strong as you bring it up. Find your balance, take your time, find your gaze, really press the foot into the standing thigh as you try to tap elbow to knee. One more breath. And then stand strong. You push those two elements together as you come up and release it down and shake it out. Almost there. Good job, you guys. Standing right, kick standing left, physio ball width, soft standing leg. Bring that leg up. Make sure you press it strongly and the thigh presses back. That brings your energy to the midline. Keep that sense, though, of spreading and widening. Arms out to the side. Inhale. Exhale. Soften the wrists and just see if you can work the inner edges of the body closer together. One more breath. And then inhale, come up. And exhale. Release. Beautiful. Shake it out. Wiggle it out. Walk it out. Come to the front of the mat. Bring your hands into prayer. Take a pause and breathe. As you exhale, release your hands down. Inhale, fly your arms up overhead, look up. Exhale, dive forward. Uttanasana, strong legs, soft hands. Let the backs of your wrists drape down. And then press yourself to Ardha Uttanasana, inhaling. Exhaling, bending your knees. Take your left leg back to a straight leg lunge. Bring your elbows onto that front knee. Pause for a moment. Lift up your heel and drop it down. Lift up your heel and drop it down. Want to make sure we did this on both sides. Drop it down. One more. Lift up your heel. Drop it down. Anchor your back foot to the back of the mat. We're working into triangle pose. So in this position, note where that knee is tracking and note that the other foot is pressing strongly. The left arm reaches forward and up and then brings you up into warrior, and then you straighten that front leg for triangle. We're going to let the hips glide back and the hand glide forward until you reach your shin. And we're just going to go part way here. So we're not going to go for the floor yet. We're going to soften the standing or the front knee a little bit and feel both feet strong on the floor and legs and the belly lifting up. This time the arms sweep forward and make a nice long triangle. Good. And now you can reach the bottom arm down and open the top arm up and think of that physio ball. So first we activated core and then it helps us open. And if you want to look up towards the sun, you can if that doesn't hurt your neck. Good. And then release that, bend through the front knee, press up to standing, turn both feet forward, take a breath, back of the wrists on your hips, inhale, lift, exhale, bow forward, Prasarita, Padottanasana, head hangs, forearms hang, forearms to the floor if they can, the head hangs down, knees are soft, feel the feet, engage the earth, take another breath. Breathe into anything that's tight as if you could just inflate those areas. And then inhale halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Bend the knees, backs of the wrists to the hips. Look forward, strong legs. Drive them down to come up to standing. Beautiful. Turn your left leg out. And we'll repeat the work we did for triangle on second side. So take a moment to organize your legs. Make them engaged in a good way, and then the hips start to glide off to the right, and we just take that lower hand down to just below the knee. So we have a second to unlock the front leg a little bit so it's not locked. That'll put a lot of tension into the back of the knee, and then open. Think of that physio ball opening through the belly, waist, and hips, and then take your arms up overhead. Little core work. Draw the belly in and up. Beautiful. Now drop that hand down to your ankle and open up like two physio balls. One between your hips, one between your elbows, and just open up. You can look towards the sun if that works for you. Keep breathing. And gently release, bend that front knee, step down, push yourself back up. One more Prasarita to finish up this section. Back of the wrists onto the hips. Inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, dive forward. Resting forearms on the floor if they fit, if they reach. Can you soften your knees and find your feet engaged strongly into earth? Big deep breath in, big deep breath out. Good, last breath. If you have a blanket handy, we're going into a squat. So some of you might need a blanket behind you. If you don't, that's okay. You're just gonna malasana, you're gonna walk your feet closer till your heels are slightly closer. If you need it, then the heels sit on the blanket. If you don't need it, you press down through the feet and try to tear the mat apart. And you come into your squat, elbows on your knees. And if this doesn't work for you at all, you can also sit on a chair and take your elbows onto your inner knees and see if you can just widen that way and bow forward. Otherwise, if you're in squat, you can bring your hands together in prayer. Think of your physio balls again. They come in really handy here to feel the opening in the center line of the body. Couple more breaths. Last breath. All right, I'm just going to reach on down with my hands so that I can ease myself down carefully. And I've got that blanket right behind me. That's kind of handy because we're going to go into Baddha Konasana, a pose that's not been very easy for me in my life. I avoid it like the plague. So this time we're going to try it just a little differently. So sitting on a blanket, you try to bring those sitting bones back and apart. And you're just on the very tippy edge. You're not very far back there. The feet are close. I've got mine about 3 or 4 inches away from my pubic bone. And the feet are pressing into each other, but the toes are spreading out like a lotus flower, just opening up. And from here, I just hinge forward. And what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to also round my upper back so that my forearms can start to touch the earth. Now, they're not there yet, but I'm going to keep breathing and keep letting gravity help me. And I'm going to also pull my belly in and up. So you just breathe through and you let time and gravity help you. Steady, cadenced breath. The feet are gently pushing into each other, but there's that physio ball-like spreading of the body. One more breath. Beautiful. Press in and come up. Ooh, challenging pose. You're going to take your right leg out straight. We're going to do a couple variations of Janu Shirshasana. So this first one, you actually pull the left knee back wide. So now I look like Upavishta. I look like a wide angle sit. And I'm going to bring my sitting bones back and apart here. And then I'm just going to bow through the legs. Now, if this hurts a knee, you might want to prop it or feel a way to support it. Otherwise, same thing, let forearms rest on the floor. You can do that little bit of activation that we've been doing today, pressing down forward and wide. And breathe, and you're not letting the sitting bones lift too far. They're mostly grounding here. And you're also not letting your head just hang, because that's kind of like your hands. If you let the head hang, the rest of the body doesn't have to do anything. So you take the head and you lengthen it through your shoulders there as if you're reaching through your crown. One more breath. Beautiful. And then walk yourself slowly up. You're going to reach that leg forward so you can lift it up, hug it. It deserves it. And then stretch it long, and you can just kind of wiggle or rock your knees out. Take a breath here, Dandasana. Place the hands down on the blanket if you have it, or down by your hips, and just lift up, lengthen. Symmetry is so good to practice after asymmetry. It helps us to remember to hug to that midline. One more breath. And then we go second side. So we're going to bend the right knee and bring it in close, and then open it up wide. Beautiful. Prop it in any way you need if you need knee support. Otherwise, just bow through like Upavishta. Not letting the head hang. Think the forearms can touch the floor, and they think of pressing forward and wide. Couple more breaths. Beautiful. Walk your way up. You're going to bring that knee into the chest and turn so that you're square to the front of the mat. Hug it for a little bit. And then we're going to switch sides again. This time we'll do a little more traditional Janu Shirshasana. So you're going to bring your left leg back in Janu. This time it's looking a little more square. So there's a little more of a right angle here. And then with one hand on your knee and one hand out from your hip, you try to make your hips and your shoulders square here and lengthen up through the crown. Feel the sitting bones on the floor and see if you can press them down, engage them down. Then from there, just begin to bow over that front leg. And again, forearms can rest on the floor if that's enough for you. If you're a little more flexible, you can try grabbing a hand around your foot. But I want you to keep that spine pretty central to the pose, to the stretch. So it's not really dropping off to one side or the other. And you just breathe into whatever's tight. Without dropping the head, you see if you can extend through the crown. Think of it like your hands. That when the head drops down, you're going to lose the body. So in this case, we extend it. A couple more breaths. And then inhale, root down to come on up. We'll bring that leg up. We'll give it a nice little hug. We're going to stretch that one out and repeat second side, bringing the other leg in. More traditional Janu Shirshasana, so you've got more of a right angle here. Bring one hand to your knee and the other hand out from your hip. And just use this time to square yourself. And to breathe and just to get centered. Even in an asymmetrical pose, we want to know our center. As we're ready, we begin to bow forward. Over that leg again, you can rest your forearms if that's available to you. You can reach beyond the foot if that's available to you. And you just stretch. And again, you try to centrify is going to be my new word today. Kind of centrify your body. Breathing deep. Notice where you feel this stretch, where you feel sensation. Breathe into it. One more breath. Beautiful. Gently release. Make your way back up to sitting. We'll go back to Dandasana, pressing down by the hips and reaching up. Good. From here, Paschimottanasana. So there's a couple choices you have. I'll show you from the side. You can be on a folded blanket on just the tippy edge. If you're super tight or you're worried about low back, you can do a roll from underneath your knees. Otherwise, I'm just going to show you standard. I'll show you what that would look like, and then I'll show you, kind of the more traditional pose. So if you want to be on a folded blanket and over the other blanket underneath your knees, then you can just bow forward here, reaching forearms to the earth. That would be more remedial and more power to you if that's what you need. Otherwise, you can sit on the folded blanket, bring the sitting bones back and apart, and then work towards forearms to the floor. Again, it's not so important how far you go, it's important if you just get really active in the legs, active in the sits bones, and are reaching down into earth. Let your hands be soft, maybe even curl your fingers so you're not sending a lot of energy and attention to the distal edges, but you can bring your attention more into your center body. And again, the head doesn't just hang either. It's like someone could gently hold on to the sides of your skull and lengthen it forward. And you breathe. And you take your time here, letting Gravity and time help you with the stretch. One more breath. Press down, look forward, unravel the pose. If you had a blanket underneath your hips, move it away. We'll come onto our backs for Setu Bandha Sarvangasana. You can roll down slowly. If you want to do a little reverse work for your abdominals, see if you can engage it with the breath. See if you can breathe each vertebra to have its moment on the planet. Oh, and then when you get all the way down, take your arms up overhead, interlace your thumbs, stretch long, point your toes, get a stretch through the front line of the body. We just did a stretch for the back line, so let's do a stretch for the front line to balance it out. One more breath, pointing toes and reaching overhead. And then walk your left foot to the left, to the outside of the sticky mat. Your legs are still straight. And then take your right leg and drape it over your right ankle or right heel over the left ankle so they're stacked. And then begin to sweep your arms to the left. So everything, you're making a big C shape to the left. And again, point your toes and feel that stretch through the front edge of the body. One more breath there. And then release that, find center, even if you have to look up to make sure. And then walk your right foot to the right edge of the sticky mat. Take your left ankle and drape it over the right ankle. And then sweep your arms to the right as well. Point the toes and feel the stretch on the front body. Maybe even you'll feel a little stretch on the inner hip. In the inner hip bowl there. Another couple breaths. And then come back to center, even if you have to look up to make sure you're square. And then bend your knees. Take your hands in robot, elbows tucked in by your sides, fingertips pointing in the sky. Now soften your fingers out, just so you really start to put the energy closer to your midline. Press the elbows down, press the back of the head down, lift your heart. See if you can get your sternum higher than the backs of your hands. Couple more breaths. Unraveling the tension in the spine, creating strength in the back of the neck. Press down to lift up. And then release your effort. We'll take that. You could either repeat that if that just feels so marvelous to you, or you can press down through your feet, lift your hips up, interlace your hands underneath you, roll the shoulders underneath you, and just take a few moments. I like to do a couple rolls, like just left and right, get those hips underneath me. Take my attention to my feet, making sure all four corners are engaged. And then I try to lift my sternum up higher than my nose. Breathing all the while, steady breath. And release. Don't curl, let the hips drop straight to the floor to keep that front body long. Take another breath there. We're going to do the same thing, but with opposite interlace. So if you did the interlace of the hands underneath you, here we go, second time. If you did robot, continue that. Press down, lift the hips up, goofy interlace. Roll the shoulders underneath you. Try to get the heels of the hands touching. Try to bring the sternum higher than the nose. Feel your feet strong. Don't let your knees flail out to the side, but keep them migrating towards each other. Big deep breath into the upper back. One more. And gently release hips without curling the tailbone under. Beautiful. Drop those hips to the floor. Bring the soles of your feet together. Bring the hands out in T. If you need to have a blanket at this point, we're moving towards Shavasana, so take a moment if you're feeling cool. Prep yourself with a blanket over your body. Or get one ready. Supta Baddha Konasana, feeling the soles of the feet touching, the knees out to the side. Big deep breath in and out as you start to arrive at the end of your practice. As you're ready, sneak your feet out from underneath you, long Shavasana. Let your legs fall out to the side. You could do a little bit of flapping first. I like to do that. I like to do flapping or lymphatic rocking, just to kind of rock out any leftover tension in my legs, back, shoulders, hips, and then let it fall out to the side. Feel your body resting. Feel your left shoulder. Let it go. Feel your right shoulder. Let it go. Feel your left leg. Let it go. Feel your right leg. Let her go. Deepen your breath at first and then slowly let it come to a quieter breath, like you are being breathed, like you're not trying to control the breath. Enjoy the resting on the earth. What else can you rest? Can you rest your mind? Can you rest your eyes? Can you rest your belly and your back? Can you rest your hips, and your ankles, and your wrists? deepen your breath. Watch that breath flow through your body like a wave, relaxing everything in its path. Really allow the breath to travel from toes to crown. It inflates everything along the way, and it releases tension from everywhere along the way. As you're ready, move that breath into a stretch, starting with fingers and toes and wrists and ankles. Take a big stretch, maybe leaving your fingers and toes out of the stretch so you can feel more of the medial body. And as you're ready, roll to your right side. Look down at the floor, place 2 hands, and make your way up to sitting. We'll meet in Sukhasana, hands in prayer. Eyes closed as we softly keep our attention inward. Just noticing the shifts and changes, remembering what we brought to practice today and where that is now. We give thanks for this practice. We are so fortunate that we can come to this practice. We have the bodies that can bring us. We have the space and the time. We're grateful for each other. We have some people to practice with and build community with. We're thankful for our teachers that challenge us. Take a moment to share some of this blessing out into the world. Just watch it seeping from your pores. All that good work, all that self-care is going to spread out into the world. We seal that prayer with a breath and an Om together. The divine in me honors the divine in you. Namaste. Thanks for sharing your practices with me. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. Namaste.